Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. How are you? Harshani, how are you? Good evening.
Good
Sachini,
evening.
evening. Hi, Mallika, how are
Good
you?
evening,
Good
sir.
evening. Hi.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, good evening. Good evening. All right, guys, can we switch on our cameras? Can we switch on our cameras so that I can see some faces? Shashini, how are you? Good evening. Sasanka rather. All right, Harshini, nice to see you. Nice to see your face. Hansini, Mallika. Okay, I see a lot of faces now. Ayesha, Hansika, how are you? Tivanka, how's it going? How are you? Tivanka, can you hear me? All right. Gayani, good evening. How are you? All right, good. Manilka, Tarangani, how are you guys? Hansika again, okay. The different Hansika. Okay, hi. Sharanya, Dinusha. All right. Guys, can I hear some responses? Okay, Subhash says good evening. Good evening. Can I hear some good evenings? How are you? How's it going?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you? All right.
Okay, fine. Good.
Fine, sir.
Good. All right. Let me just put a message on the group saying that we have started. All right. All right, guys. So I hope you are excited to get started with the webinar. Can I just hear from a few of you when you are doing the test? Are you guys doing it sometime soon? Are you doing it towards the end of the year? Just one or two people, if you can answer me. I see someone with the cameras on. Oh, Mallika, since you've had your camera switched on the whole time, are you doing the test in June, July? When are you doing it?
I'm doing next week, sir.
You're doing it next week. Okay,
Yes.
okay, that's good. Hansika, what about you? Janice says soon as possible. Okay. Not booked a
I
date.
booked for 7th June.
You've already booked for 7th June. Okay, good. All right, I see a few people saying 22nd June, not booked a date yet, but very soon. July. Okay. All right, good. So some of you are doing the exam very close. Some of you have a bit of time, right? Some people are saying very soon. Okay, 22nd of June. 1st of June. Wow, that's not too far out. Okay. All right, guys. So in that case, end of August. Okay, nice. That gives you a bit more time. All right. Guys, in order for us to get started, I have to ask you one question, and that is it okay if I conduct the entire webinar in English? Do you want me to conduct it in Sinhala? Or do you
Yes,
want
sir.
me to do a mix of both? Can you comment on the chat box ASAP which language you would like me to conduct a webinar? English, Sinhala, or a mix of both? Okay, most people are saying English. Nice. Totally.
English.
Okay, good. That makes things a lot easy for me. English. All right, good. No one is saying Sinhala. That's good. All right. That's nice. Okay. All right, guys. So don't worry. If anyone is there that does not understand anything that I say, all right, I'm going to be doing this 100% in English, okay, because the majority, that's what they want. However, if some of you have problems understanding what I'm saying, if you didn't understand certain things that I said, don't worry about it, okay? Just raise your hand and I will give you a time to ask questions. In that time, I can explain in both English and Sinhala, okay? So I'm not going to give you the option to unmute yourself until I give you the opportunity to ask questions. But during that time, don't worry, there'll be about 4-5 points where you can ask questions. You don't have to wait for the entire 2 hours to be done. So whenever I give you an opportunity to ask questions, just you can ask in English or Sinhala, that doesn't matter. And I will explain in both languages. Okay. All right, guys. So how the agenda is going to flow today, I will share the table of content here. Okay. So first of all, now there might be some people who have no idea what IELTS is and what the essay or what the exam structure is. Okay, so I'm just going to give you an idea about the overall IELTS exam. I'm going to give you an idea about each of the different tests, each of the different sections of the exam, what is included, what are the question types in each of the different sectors of the exam. So you're going to get an idea about the overall test format, right? And then that this will be done in about half an hour max, right? I'm not going to take a lot of time because most of you are here for the reading section, right? So within half an hour, I'm just going to get to the reading introduction, okay? So during the reading part, we are going to discuss how to study for IELTS reading. What are some of the techniques, some of the tips that you can follow to get a better band score at reading? We're going to discuss some of the common question types, some of the question types that will definitely show up for your exam, right? Then we are going to talk about the tried and tested best way to search for answers and locate answers at the exam. We are going to discuss the importance of keywords, fixed and flexible keywords. And finally, maybe the last 30 to 45 minutes, majority of the time, we're going to look at a paper discussion, okay? That is how today's webinar is going to flow. Okay. Now, before we get started, all right, let me just give you a quick introduction about who we are and what we do, right? Devashi, no recordings, okay? I'm sorry. You have to be there till the end of the meeting. I'm Shashan Das, okay, and I'm the founder of the Success Academy. We have been teaching IELTS students for the past 2 years, and we have helped over 150 students get to the scores that they desire and successfully move to the countries that they want: America, Canada, the UK, all right, New Zealand. Many of these countries, people who want to go, who needs to do the IELTS exam have gone through us. More than 150 students have managed to get through thanks to our classes. Okay. So when we discuss the reading test today, right, I'm talking to you about tried and tested methods, proven methods that will definitely help you get to a higher band score. All right. We've had students who just by watching the webinar, just by being on the webinar, have been able to lift their scores. All right. From initially getting band 4, 5, right, to then after watching the webinar, getting to band 6.57 and above. Okay. So definitely be there till the very end. Okay. Because even for our classes, we are going to give you a 30% discount, and we're going to give you that discount code only towards the end of the class or end of this webinar, right? So make sure to stick there till the end, right? And take as much value from this as you possibly can, because there's so much value that I'm going to be giving to you, okay? With that, we are going to get started with the introduction to the IELTS exam, all right? So again, if you have any questions, mark it down, write it down, okay? Note it down. I will give you a time to ask me questions. Then you can ask me anything. Anything I say, I can justify, right? I can explain, I can elaborate in detail. So if you don't understand anything, write it down and then ask me. I will explain it to you until it is clear, okay? Very simply, IELTS is the International English Language Testing System. Guys, IELTS is the most recognized English language testing system in the world. Okay, you have other competitors like PTE, TOEFL, exams like that, but nothing is as recognized as the IELTS exam. Okay, nothing is as recognized as the IELTS exam. This exam exists to test your level of English when you are moving to an English speaking country. This is a visa document. Okay, this is essentially a visa document. This is not an exam you do just because you want to test your English level. Okay, this is not an exam that you do just because you want to improve your English knowledge. This is not that kind of exam. This is a mandatory requirement when you're applying for universities, when you're applying for visa to English-speaking countries, okay? And they want to check, can you move to a country like this? Can you converse in English? Can you read, write, speak, listen, and understand the English language? Okay. How this exam is marked is by giving you a particular band score. Okay. And this band score is similar to the CEFR, or the Common European Framework of Reference. Okay. What that means is when you go to European Union countries, to test your level of that language, they have created a common framework. So if you have seen some IELTS report sheets, I will show you some later on, they give you a score that says B1, B2, C1, C2. They give you a score like that outside of your band score. This is your CEFR score. Okay. So that means in any European country, when you say, I am a C2 level speaker, that means you are the best type of speaker of that language. Okay. If you say, okay, I'm an A2 level speaker, it means you're not that great when it comes to speaking that language. So CEFR, the levels are A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Okay. So your band score has also been created based on that, right? So IELTS is the most recognized English test that is marked according to the CEFR, okay? There are 3 types of tests that you can do. Mainly, there are 2 types, general and academic. The general test is done if you're going abroad to work. The academic test is done if you're going abroad to study, very generally, okay? There can be different exceptions to this rule. Life skills is a test that you take if you are going for working purposes to the UK. All right. Very few people do this, but majority of people end up doing general or academic. Then you have another test called UKVI. This is again only for people who want to travel to UK for visa and immigration purposes. You need to get that UKVI seal from the UK Home Office. Okay. That's what UKVI stands for. It's a bit more expensive than the regular general or academic test. Okay. So when you're booking the test, just make sure whether you, now if you're going to the UK, just make sure, okay, do I have to do the UKVI general academic, or can I just do the normal one? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's about a 7,500 rupee difference. Could be more, right? But there is anyway a price difference. So when you're booking the exam, make sure that you're booking the correct one. Okay. All right, so the exam format is quite simple. You have 4 sections. They're checking 4 things when it comes to the IELTS exam: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Okay. Listening, reading, and writing are done on the same day, and it takes about 2 hours and 40 minutes to complete this exam. Now, if you are doing the paper-based test, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. If you are doing the computer-based test, okay, then it's going to be 2 hours and 30 to 32 minutes. Okay, I will tell you why that is. But this is only for the listening, reading, and writing sections. This will be done on one day. This is your main test. Okay. The speaking test will be done on a separate day. Sometimes it could be done on the same day, but overall it's a different test altogether. Okay. You will not have to do it in conjunction with those 3 main tests. Okay. So the speaking test will take about 15 to 18 minutes roughly. Okay. So when you're booking the main test, they will let you know what day your speaking test is also going to be on, right? When we look at band scores, I told you their band score is given in accordance with the CEFR score as well. But how these band scores are given is based off of your ability to get as many marks as possible for listening and reading. And then with writing and speaking, there is a marking criteria on which you get marks. Okay. So depending on your fluency, depending on your language skill, depending on your grammatical ability, depending on your vocabulary, the band score you get will fluctuate. Okay. For most people, the band score that they look for is 6 or 6.5. Majority, I would say even with people that come to my classes, I would say 80% of people want to get 6 or 6.5. 6.5 is the average mark because from most universities, that is what they request. For those of you who are going abroad for working purposes, it might be even lower, right? Some people only have to get 5.5, maybe 6, right, at best. Some people, very rare cases, I would say 10% of people need to get a very high band score, 7.5, 8, right? I've had students who were going abroad for medicine. Okay, they're studying to be doctors, especially teachers. English teachers in particular need to get a very high band score, right? So if you're going abroad for education purposes, and by that I mean if you're going as a teacher, right? Or if you're going abroad for STEM subjects, science, mathematics, things like that, then sometimes the band score you have to get is very high. But on average, if you're going abroad for, let's say, business management, most of the typical subjects, it's 6.5. Okay, that is the average result that you have to get. To be honest, getting a 6.5 at IELTS is not hard at all. Okay, now you will realize when I do the reading test today that nothing I teach you is difficult. You just have to understand the method and then you have to practice. Practice is key, okay, as we will discuss in just a bit. If you don't practice and you don't practice the methods, if you don't practice the tips, the techniques that we talk about, then it's going to be difficult. But if you continuously practice the methods we talk about, this is a walk in the park. Okay, this is very easy. All right. Okay. Your IELTS exam is valid for 2 years. That's the main takeaway from this. All right. And now, if you are planning to go abroad in the next 2 years, I would say do the exam now. But if you're not sure when you are going to go abroad, and it might be in the next 3 years, okay, then don't do the test. Ideally, 6 months before you start applying for the visa process, 4 months, 6 months before, your IELTS should be completed. But should you do it 1.5 years before you go? It's not necessary. Okay, just wait till it's a bit close by, maybe 6 months, or even if you're too afraid, maybe 8 months out maximum, right? So that way, even if you don't get the result you want, you have time to apply, right? But 1.5 years out, you don't really have to do it. So I would say 8 months, 6 months, 4 months. That should be the earliest time you should get the exam done. All right. But anyway, in any case, you don't have to worry. It's valid for 2 years. Okay. Whatever band score you get is valid for 2 years. Okay. All right, so a very quick introduction, right? I'm going to give you a very quick introduction about each of the different sections of the IELTS exam. First, you have the listening test. Okay, first you have the listening test. The listening test has 4 sections. Okay, in a 30-minute recording. All right, so they will play a 30-minute recording, which is broken down into 4 sections, and you have to listen to this and answer 40 questions. Okay, they play a 30-minute recording, which is broken down into 4 sections. You have to answer 40 questions. That means per section, 10 questions. I hope you understand that, right? Now you might be thinking, okay, in every section, do they play the recording and then I have to answer the 10 questions? Not like that. While listening to the recording, you have to answer the questions, right? While listening to the recording, you have to answer the questions. And the best part is that even these sections, now in section 1, the recording is broken into 2. Even in section 1, the recording is broken into 2. That means they will say, first read questions 1 to 5 and then listen to the recording and answer the questions. Then listen to 6 to 10. Okay, that is the end of part 1. Okay, then you go to section 2. Then they will say, listen to or read questions 11 to 14. Listen to the recording and answer. Then 15 to 20. That's the end of part 2. Now you will realize that even these sections are not broken down evenly. That means it's not broken down half-half. All right. Sometimes in section 1, you might be breaking it down as 3 and 7. In section 2, you might be breaking it down as 5 and 5. Here, you might break it down as 4 and 6. Don't know how it's going to be broken down. But anyway, there's going to be 2 sections each, and it's going to be broken down. Clear? Only in section 4, will you have to listen to the recording and answer all 10 questions at a stretch. There is no division in section 4. Clear? There is no division in section 4. All right. The types of questions you get here are very similar to the reading test, right? So you get multiple choice questions, short answer questions, sentence completion type questions. These are all completion type, right? Completion of a diagram, notes, table, labeling of a diagram, classification type questions, very interesting, and then matching type questions. Okay, these are the different types of questions that you will get for the listening test. Okay, so out of 40, you have to get a certain amount of marks in order to go for the band score that you want. The listening test is common to both academic and general test takers. Okay, just because you're doing academic and general, there is no difference. For academic and test takers, both the listening test is the same. Clear? All right. Okay, before we move on to writing and speaking, right? Do you all have any questions? Okay, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. Up to now, do you all have any questions? Okay. Now, if you don't have questions, it usually means that I was really good and you understood everything I said. Otherwise, you have not understood anything. Malika, you look sleepy. You're keeping your hand like this, and you look sad. I hope you understood everything. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? No questions? All right, good. So then I'm going to move on. All right. So guys, remember, we don't have a lot of time to elaborate on each of the sections in detail. So only reading, I will be explaining in detail today, right? Along with the paper discussion and everything. But I'm just doing this so that everyone gets an idea of what this test looks like, so that you're not completely confused when I start talking about reading. Okay. Okay. So we have some questions. Janice says, do we get a time limit for reading and writing? Yes. So, like I said, you have a 30-minute recording here, right? All this is done in a 30-minute recording. Now, if you're doing the paper-based test, okay, outside of this 30 minutes, you get an additional 10 minutes to mark your answers on the answer sheet, okay? So if I were to show you, okay, now if you're doing the paper-based test, you get a question paper. Let's assume this is a question paper. And you get a separate answer sheet. Now, when you're listening to the recording, mark all your answers here, okay? Then you get an additional 10 minutes to mark your answers here, all right, on the answer sheet. So if you're doing the paper-based test, you get 40 minutes in total, okay? 30-minute recording time, 10 minutes extra to mark your answers, right? Sorry about that. I think something happened to my video. All right, guys, you can hear me clearly, right? Can I get a yes? Can you hear me? Shashini, can you hear me? Yeah. Guys, you can hear me, right? Yes. Can I get a yes? Line is breaking. Okay. Am I clear now? Am I audible now? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so as I was saying, if you are doing the paper-based test, you get an additional 10 minutes, right, to mark your answers on the answer sheet. But for the computer-based test, you don't get any additional time, just about 1 or 2 minutes more. That's it. And then you're done. All right. So just pay attention to that. But that's the main difference between computer-based and the physical paper. All right. For writing, you get 60 minutes. I'll explain that when we get to the writing section. Okay. So, same paper format of IELTS General and General UKVI. There is no change in the test format if you're doing UKVI. Okay, so UKVI Academic or UKVI General has no difference between the normal papers. Okay, so UKVI is, what it means is United Kingdom Visa and Immigration. The only thing that happens there is that you get an extra seal on your paper for visa and immigration purposes from the UK Home Office. That's it. No changes to the paper format. Okay. Shashikala is asking, should we write our answers in block letters? Yes, that is a good option because, and I'll explain this in detail when I get to reading. If you make any mistakes with your capitalization, for example, if you don't capitalize proper nouns, they're not going to give you marks. Now, for example, if you write my name, Sheshan, like this, okay, I've put it onto the chat box. This is wrong, right? My name needs to be written in with a capital S in front, right? So it has to be Sheshan. Now, this would be correct, right? This would be correct, but the previous one would be incorrect, right? Therefore, writing in full block letters would make things easy for you. This is also a correct answer. Okay, so writing in full block letters could also be better for you. Chamitu is asking, do they play the recording twice? No, they don't. Right? Recording is only played one time. So you need to listen clearly and answer. Okay, listen clearly and answer. Then Janice has asked another question. So if we are doing the computer-based test, can we go back and change? Or does it lock and can't change? No, you can go back and change. That's not an issue, right? You can go back and change, right? It doesn't lock necessarily. All right. Okay, someone else had raised their hand. Okay, no one else? All right, so I hope that answers the questions. Okay. Shankar is asking, sir, does the UKVI reading paper always come? Like I said, just because it's UKVI, the test format does not change at all. Okay, the test format does not change at all. All right. So then we'll move on to the writing test. Okay, the writing test. Now, when you come to the writing test, guys, there is a difference between academic and general. Okay, academic test takers have to write a report and an essay. General test takers have to write a letter and an essay. Okay, in total, you have 60 minutes. For part 1, you can take 20 minutes. For part 2, you can take 40 minutes. Ideally, part 1 should be done in about 15 minutes. Okay, because honestly, you don't have to think when it comes to part 1. Part 1 in writing is so easy, regardless of whether you're doing academic or general. Okay, some people believe, oh, report writing is so hard, we have to use technical terms, we have to do this. Nothing. All right, it's very easy. Once you understand the format, once you learn the correct vocabulary to use, task 1 is a walk in the park. It's basically a picture description. Okay, although they say it's report writing and they make it sound so formal, it's just a picture description. Okay, it's very easy. All right, so 15 minutes is more than enough. Essay is different. Essay, you need to take a bit of time. You need to think of some good examples. You need to write quality vocabulary, right? 45 minutes is, I would say, very necessary to write your essay. Okay, because you need to get the best possible mark for the essay, because 33% of your mark is given for part 1, whereas double that amount, 66%, is given for part 2. Therefore, the essay is always more important. Okay, letter writing, again, for general test takers, can be done in 15 minutes. Nothing much to think. They have given you points. You just need to elaborate that. Not difficult. Essay writing, again, you need time. So regardless of whether you're doing academic or general, essay writing gets 66% of the mark, which means it is very important. Okay. So like I said, 50 minutes for part 1, 45 minutes for part 2. IELTS recommendation or Cambridge recommendation is 20 minutes for part 1, 40 minutes for part 2. Your word count is very important here. For part 1, academic and general, the word count is 150 words. Okay. That means you can't write less than 150 words. If you write less than 150 words, you're not going to get a very high band score. More than 150 words, any amount you can write. There is no maximum limit. Okay. My recommendation would be 175 to 200. Okay. But honestly, there is no maximum limit, right? Essay, you can't write less than 250 words. If you write less than 250, you're not getting a high band score. More than 250, any amount you can write. My recommendation is 300 to 350. If you have ever attended one of our writing webinars, right, or if you have watched any of our videos, you would know that there is a very strict structure to follow when it comes to essay writing. Okay. If you write in this structure, word count is not going to be a problem. You just need some good examples, some good ideas. If you have that, word count is not a problem. 350 words, very easy. Okay, 350 words is a breeze, but you have to know the right structure. Okay, it's the same for these. These are very easy, but you need to know the right structure on how to write. Okay, that's it. That's writing. And finally, guys, my favorite test. All right, and I love coaching people for this, the speaking test. Okay, the speaking test is the test which you can score the most amount of marks. All right, most of my students, they end up scoring the maximum mark for speaking, right? The highest mark they get is for speaking. And the reason for that is fixing your speaking ability is not very difficult. You don't have to read tons and tons of information, right? You don't have to listen and pay attention. Speaking is just about relaxing and talking. They just want to get an idea how fluent you are, right? Can you speak without saying, uh, can you speak without fillers? Okay, that's the only thing they want here, right? Of course, there is a strict marking criteria, which we will discuss if you guys ever, attend one of my speaking webinars later on or join my classes. But what you have to note here is that if you can speak fluently, already you're guaranteed a 7 band score at least, right? A 7 minimum is guaranteed if you can speak fluently, right? I've had students, terrible grammar, right? Sometimes their grammar is not that great, but because they work on this fluency, right? Because they can speak without saying, and thinking, right? They have gone to 6.57, 7.5 band scores, right? Of course, if your English vocabulary is good, grammar is good, 8.5 is guaranteed, okay? What is the structure of speaking? You have 3 sections, part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1 is a self-introduction, okay? When I say self-introduction, it's not that you have to talk about yourself for 10 minutes. No, no. They will ask you questions about yourself. No, where do you live, right? Do you like where you live? Do you live in a house or an apartment? What do you prefer? What are you studying? Are you studying or working? Questions like that, they will ask you. Main thing here is just your ability to elaborate an answer. Okay. Don't just say, I live in Moratua, right? You should be able to elaborate on that answer and give an interesting, comprehensive answer. Okay. That's what is going to happen in this self-introduction part. The reason they have given this is just to help you relax, honestly, right? And what do I mean by it? People know, the people who created IELTS know that most people, although speaking is the easiest thing to do, most people are afraid of speaking, right? Most people are afraid of speaking. When they have to stand or sit in front of an examiner and talk, they don't know what to say. They get so scared. Their mind goes blank. They don't know. They have no clue what to say, right? But the easiest thing that anybody can talk about is themselves, right? So because of that, they have given this section so that you only need to talk about yourself, your opinions, your ideas, what you prefer, right? Anybody can do that, right? And that is why this section has been given. The real test is part 2 and part 3. Okay, part 1 is just to warm you up. That's it. Part 2 is your short talk. Okay, this is honestly the real test where they give you a topic with a few pointers. You have to speak on this topic for about 2 minutes. Okay, you have to speak on this topic for about 2 minutes. Cambridge has recommended 1 minute, more than 1 minute. So definitely if you speak less than 1 minute, you're out. Okay, no high band score, not even a band 5.5, right? Definitely above 1 minute is good. 2 is great. 230 means you're too much now, right? So ideally 215 to 230, you should stop, right? So you need to have a clear structure, again, a clear introduction, body, conclusion. But again, this is very easy, right? Once you get a hang of how to practice, how to talk, and how to speak fluently without fillers, getting marks for this section is not very difficult, all right? But it's just a matter of practicing properly. Part 3 is a two-way discussion where they will ask you questions based on the same theme as part 2. Okay, what does that mean? Now, if they ask you in part 2, talk about your favorite animal. In part 3, they are not going to ask you about the animal you spoke about. So you might have spoken about an elephant. They are not going to ask you about an elephant, but they are going to ask you questions from the same theme. Okay, the same theme means wild animals. They might ask you, do you think that animals should be kept in zoos? Right? Do you think that people should preserve endangered animals? Right? Questions like that, they will ask. Now, you need to be able to think on the spot and elaborate such an answer. If they ask you, do you think that animals should be kept in zoos? And you say, no. Do you think you will get a high band score? No. Right? You have to be able to elaborate your answer. Okay, you have to be able to elaborate, think on your feet, use some good vocabulary, and elaborate your answer fluently. All right. So part 1 is the self-introduction, questions about yourself. Part 2 is the short talk where you have to speak about a topic for 2 minutes. And part 3 is where you have to answer questions from the same theme as part 2. Okay, guys, for all of this, right now, we have spoken about listening, writing, and speaking. There are specific structures to follow, right? There are certain things that you need to do, certain ways that you need to practice. Okay, once you figure those out, this is very easy, right? Don't blindly go and do the test and fail because you're just wasting money. Clearly understand what needs to be done and then go and pass the exam in one shot. Okay, this is not an exam where you just go to experiment. You don't pay 75,000 rupees or 65,000 rupees to just go and experiment. Okay, I believe that y'all don't have that kind of money to waste. Okay, so before you go for the test, clearly understand how to face the test, what are the structures, how to practice, and then go and do the test one shot. Okay, all right. Now we will move on to the reading test introduction. Okay, but before that, let me answer a few questions that you have. All right. Okay, before I get to, okay, let me answer the questions that you have. Okay. All right. Ruksha has asked. All right, let me share my screen again. Is it okay if I write answers in block letters in the middle of the question? No, you can't do that. If you're answering in block letters, everything has to be answered as block letters. You can't write, simple letters for one section and then have block letters for another section. Okay, that's not possible. If you're writing block letters, the whole paper needs to be written in block letters. Okay, listening and reading both. Writing, guys, my recommendation is don't write in block letters. All right, you can if you want to, but it's honestly a hassle. It's a hassle to write. It's a hassle for the examiner to read. Okay, so I would recommend don't write in block letters for writing. Listening and reading, no problem. Full on, write block letters. Okay. Sashini has asked, is it necessary to use pencil instead of pen? Absolutely. Some centers, they don't even let you carry the pen inside the hall, right? Some centers don't even allow that. So you have to answer the question, all the questions in pencil. All right, you have to use the pencil to write all the answers. Dinosh has asked, what do you recommend, paper-based or computer-based? Guys, I get this question a lot. And honestly, there is no correct answer to this question, okay? When I type, personally, me, right, Shashan Dias, when I type, I make a lot of mistakes. Why? Because I type a lot, right? I type on a daily basis. I send out so many emails. I do so many captions. I'm always writing something. Okay, I'm either teaching a class and I'm typing out an essay. I do a lot of typing, and I have this magical tool called what? Autocorrect, right? I have an app called Grammarly where it corrects all my writing for me. All right, so I have nothing to worry about when I type. I can type really, really fast. Okay, and I have nothing to worry about because all my mistakes are corrected via Grammarly. Okay, when I go for the IELTS exam, that is a big problem. Okay, that's a big problem. So I prefer to do the paper-based test, right? I prefer to do the paper-based test because I don't make any mistakes when I write. If I have to write with the pencil, mistakes are very less. Okay, non-existent. I don't make a lot of mistakes, right? Computer-based test is different because I'm so used to typing fast, right, that I just don't care about the spellings because automatically my spellings are being corrected. And that's the case for, I guess, most of you. But now my brother did the exam recently. He's going to Australia, right? He preferred the online test, the computer-based test, because he prefers typing. He said, I will not make any mistakes when I'm typing. So I will do the computer-based test, right? He didn't want to write. He didn't want to waste time writing. He just said, I'll type, right? So you need to figure out what is easy for you. If you're making a lot of grammatical errors, spelling errors while you type, bad idea to do the computer-based test. But if you feel like, okay, I can pay attention and I can get it done, then by all means, go for the computer-based test. If you're good with a computer, if you can just figure it out very fast, computer-based test is convenient, easy. You'll get the results a lot faster. Okay, they give the results really fast. With the paper-based test, you have to wait for like 2 weeks, right? So it's if you need the results fast, do the computer-based test. Okay. What are the general and academic subjects differences? Reading is different. So we haven't spoken about reading yet. We are going to get to that now. Okay. But the other only difference is in the writing test. Listening and speaking are exactly the same for general and academic test takers. Is it compulsory to do UKVI for UK immigration? Not really, right? You just need to check whether the institution you're applying through or the university you're applying for, whether they have requested UKVI, but that's not a question I can answer. That's a question that your visa officer will have to answer. Okay, so you need to check with your visa officer or your migration officer and check, okay, do I need to do UKVI? If they say yes, you need to book that. So don't worry, guys, there is no difference when it comes to the test format. Okay, so don't stress about that too much. So is the IELTS syllabus changed from time to time? Like a government syllabus? What a question. Well, that's tricky, right? The test format for the most part has remained the same, right? There have been slight differences on and off, but no major differences because they have quite a good standard testing procedure. All right. Rochelle, you have raised your hand. Do you have a question? Okay, you can unmute yourself and ask, okay, if you have a question. Hashini has asked, if we don't meet the required word count, what will happen? You won't get the relevant band score. Your band score is going to be 5.5 or below. You can't get above that if your word count doesn't meet the minimum standard, okay? 150 words or 250 words. Writing more than that is up to you, but you have to reach that minimum, okay? Can we have a watch with us tomorrow? You can't have a watch with you, right? You will either, so there's usually a clock in every exam hall, so you can monitor with that. In the computer-based test, you have a timer running, right, on the side, so you can monitor with that. Madhushan says, how can we overcome a... my friend, we are not talking about speaking today, unfortunately, so I can't elaborate on that. We don't have time, right? Honestly, I would if I could. We don't have time, right? But only reading related questions, I can really elaborate in detail, okay? Why is that there is no one skill retake when you do the paper-based test? Again, that's not a question I can answer. That's up to the authorities as to why they allow one skill retake and not, okay? But if you're doing computer-based test, I mean, do the computer-based test. If you want to go for a one skill retake, my suggestion to you is don't aim for any retakes, okay? Don't aim for any retakes, guys. Before you go to the test, make sure you understand everything you need to understand before going for the test, okay? Please, all right? The structures, the test format, everything that you need to understand, please do it before you go for the test. Don't waste 65, 75,000 rupees just for the sake of it, okay? Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. I mean, some of you maybe are paying for it yourselves, but if some of you are children, below 24, 25 years old, right? I'm assuming that your parents are paying for this. Don't repeat this, guys. It's a waste of time. You're just making the UK richer, right? We were, what do you call? We were slaves. We were working under the British for so many years, right? And we're still making them rich, right? We're going to their countries because we believe their countries are better, right? And we're just paying them more and more and more money. Okay, I have 300 plus people attending this webinar every time I do one. Okay, and for our classes, we get 25, 30 students. There are classes, again, that are doing 40, 50 students at a time. In total, I would say per month, more than 2,500 people, more than 3,000 people are doing this test. How much money are we paying the British Council, right? How much money are we paying the British Council, right? Why are you paying so much? Do it one time and finish it, right? That's it. Do it one time and finish it off. Amit has asked, are past questions being repeated? Not really. They try to be very innovative, right? Past themes might repeat, but definitely not the same question. Okay, past themes will repeat, but definitely not the same question. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a quick intro to our class before we move on to reading. All right. Like I said, we are giving you a very special discount in our webinar today. If you want to join our June batch, which is starting on the 6th of June, that is next week, I want you to message this webinar code, right? This code to the number that you see on the screen, okay? He will also put a message on the free webinar group, right? Just note this code down. Personally message this number if you want to join our June batch, our June classes. What do you get when you join our classes? Okay. You get, first of all, the entire IELTS syllabus will be covered in 10 days. Okay. We are going to go through listening, reading, writing, speaking. We are also going to do paper discussions for each one. I'm going to give you unlimited feedback for your writing and speaking tasks. Okay. You can send me as many essays, many reports, many letters as you want. I will give you feedback on that. You can send me as many speaking recordings as you want. I will give you feedback on that, right? Furthermore, you will get our video course and study pack, which is valued and which we separately sell for 7,000 rupees for free. Okay. When you purchase our 10-day program, you get one set of live class recordings, right? So we have done recordings of our previous classes and we separately sell that too. So these are our live classes which we are selling as recordings. Writing feedback, usually, if you ask me for a separate package, we sell you at 500 rupees each for each feedback. But with our classes, you get unlimited free. Okay. It's the same with speaking. This one, it's just an online link. So anyway, I can't charge you for it. I'm giving it to you for free, right? So I'm just giving you easy access to it, right? But all of these things, guys, this comes up to 18,000 rupees. So basically, we are charging you nothing for the classes, right? We are giving you all of this for free. Now, from this month onwards, we increased the price of our program to 30,000 rupees because we didn't have this one previously, right? We didn't have this one previously, okay? So because we added that also, we have increased our price to 30,000 rupees and we got a lot of demand last month as well, right? So we have a huge waiting list. So we didn't want to take more than 30 students per batch this time. But anyway, on the webinar, I have always given my program at this price point, right? But from next month onwards, from the next webinar, we are increasing this as well. So this is the last time that we are giving it at this price point. Now, all of this plus the 10 classes, the best part about all of this is that you can join as many batches as you want. Let's say you're doing the exam in August, you're doing the exam in September, October, November, December, even next year. You can join for all these batches for free if you join our June batch at this price. No extra charge, not a single rupee, all right? From the time, I've had students who are doing exams sometime in July, but they have been coming for classes for about 3-4 months prior, right? Because they wanted to get that practice. And keep in mind, you're getting unlimited feedback for your writing and speaking. Okay. No program offers all of this value for this price. Okay. Most IELTS classes are a lot more expensive than this, right? And they don't offer you all this value. Okay. So just a quick reminder, right? If you are interested, put the webinar code, right? Put the webinar code to the number you see on the group or this number in particular, right? So the code, once again, I will put it on the group. Okay. I will put it on the chat box. Just copy paste it, send it to this number. All right. Okay. So we'll talk about this in a bit more detail later on, but now we'll go to the reading section. All right. I'll explain this in Sinhala as well later on. Okay. But now we get to the real part of this webinar. The reading test is the second exam in the sequence, right? That means after listening, you have reading. Okay. There are 3 sections, regardless of whether you're doing academic or general, there are 3 sections that you have to face. Now, there is a difference. If you're doing the general test, you have 1 hour and 40 questions. If you're doing the academic test, you have 1 hour and 40 questions. So where is the difference? The difference is in the content. It's the information that they have included in this reading passage that is different. Okay. If you're doing the general test, although there are 3 sections, there can be about 5 reading paragraphs because the reading paragraph is shorter. So they have given in section 1, you might have 2 reading paragraphs, okay, and 13 questions. In section 2, you might again have 2 reading paragraphs, right, and 13 to 14 questions. In section 3, you might have only 1 paragraph, a longer one. Sometimes you might have 2, but very rare, mostly 1. Right, a very long one, and from that you have to answer the remaining questions. Academic is very straightforward. 3 sections, 3 paragraphs, done and dusted. 40 questions are from that, right? So section 1, you will have 13 questions. Section 2, you will have 13 questions. Section 3, you will have about 14 questions. Okay, so 3 sections, 3 paragraphs. Each section has about 800 words, regardless of whether you're doing general or academic, because general also, although they are divided into 2, each one is about 350 to 400 words. So about 800 words in total. Okay. Now think about that for a second. You have to read 800 1,600, 2,400, about 2,500 words, roughly. And then you have to read the questions, which is about, let's say, another 1,000 words, right? So that's 3,500 words. You have to understand it. You have to write answers to the questions they have asked, all in 1 hour, in 60 minutes. Is this possible? Most of you would struggle here with time management. Okay. Have you ever tried a reading paper and struggled with time management? Can I just see a show of hands if you have, or just say yes on the group, whatever. Just raise your hand. No one has struggled with time? Okay, I'm seeing hands coming up. Tirat, Shami, okay. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses on, okay. So time management is actually a big problem for a lot of people. Okay, time management is a big problem for a lot of people. But I'm going to tell you how you can manage your time effectively so that you don't have to read 3,500 words, right? And you're not wasting time trying to read this word for word and understand everything in order to find the answers. Okay, we're going to discuss that in just a second. There are 4 very important things that you have to pay attention to when you're doing the reading test. One thing is grammar. Okay. If your answers are grammatically incorrect, your answer is wrong. There is no answer that they will give at the exam where if it doesn't grammatically fit into a sentence, it's correct, right? There is no answer like that. So now if you think something is the correct answer, let's say you have the word dog, okay, and you put dog into a sentence, but when you read that sentence, you realize, okay, grammatically, this doesn't work, like this sentence is wrong. Then you have not found the correct answer. Okay, your answer has to be grammatically correct. All right. If it is grammatically wrong, that means it's not the correct answer. All right. If you have not written the grammatically correct word, it's not the correct answer. I hope you understand that. Spellings. If your spellings are wrong, your answers are wrong. Even if now, let's say again, the answer to a question might be, let's just assume it is what? Papers. Okay, Papers. All right. You write like this. Pips. Papes. Now, the examiner might realize, okay, this guy understood the correct answer, but his spellings are wrong. Will you get marks? Sympathy marks? No, right? Even something as small as this, let's say the correct answer to a question is dog, D-O-G, dog, but you write D-O-G-S, dogs. Is that correct? No, you will not get marks. Okay, so spellings and grammar, you have to be really careful. Okay, you have to be really careful. Then you have to pay attention to the word count. There are 6 different types of word counts that you can get. I will type it in the chat box. 1 word only, 2 words only, okay, 3 words only. Now this is not going to go up to 4 words only, 5 words only, okay. Then you have 1 word and or a number, 2 words and or a number, okay, 2 words and or a number. Finally, 3 words and or a number. Okay, these are the 6 different word counts that you can get. You can write less than the word count. Okay, let's say they have said write 3 words and or a number. Okay, so if your answer is black dogs, right? Black dogs, that is correct. Okay, let's say your answer is 3 black dogs, still, or 2 black dogs, it's still correct. Your answer is 2 big black dogs. Is this correct or incorrect? 3 words and or a number, correct or incorrect? Can you type quickly? Three words and or a number. Two big black dogs. Is this correct or incorrect? This answer would be correct. Nah, someone said no. No, it's correct. Okay, why is it correct? They are saying three words and a number or a number. Clear? So when they say three words and a number, now you have written a number 2 and also three words, big black dogs. This is correct. Clear? Three or two big black dogs would be correct for a three words and or a number. Okay. If you add one more word to that, that is incorrect. Clear? That is incorrect. Okay. If you say three big black fat dogs, this would be incorrect, right? There is no chance that you'll ever get an answer like this, right? Usually you will get maximum three words that you will have to write. Sometimes in very, very rare occasions, you might have a number to add in. But if they have said three words and a number, then definitely you can write one number and three words. Okay. It's the same with everything else. If they say two words and or a number, right, this answer would be correct. Two black dogs. If they have said two words and a number, so you have a number which is 2, the two words are black dogs. Okay. So that's the word count. You need to pay attention to that. If you exceed the word count, your answer will be incorrect. And finally, time management. Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit. But again, you need to pay attention to this. All right. Okay. Now we are going to discuss a few ways which you can study for the test. All right. All of these are tips that you can use to study for the test. I'll send this across to you so you can go through it separately, but I'll explain it to you. Okay. In order to improve your reading skills, the only way to do it is by reading and summarizing. Okay. By reading and summarizing. Just because you read something, now let's say I give you a paragraph to read, right? Let's say now you're reading this. Okay. Just because you read that, it doesn't mean your reading skill has improved. Okay. Because you can read as much as you want. If you don't understand what you're reading, then there is no point. Do you understand? If you don't understand what you're reading, then there is no point. So the best way for you to improve your reading comprehension skills is to take maybe an article, a book, a newspaper, anything that you want to read it, and then summarize that information. So let's say you have a book like this, okay? You turn to the first page, right? You read it by yourself, and then without looking at this book, you try to summarize that information that you got. Okay? Now what are you doing? You're forcing yourself to understand what you have read. Sometimes you might not be able to do this the first time. Okay, you might have to read this for, let's say, 6 to 7 times to really understand what is being said. Okay, but if you keep doing it again and again and again and again, you will be able to read this once and then summarize that information. Clear? Furthermore, you might also take a lot of time to read something. Okay, what maybe let's say Shashikala can read in 2 minutes, Srinath might take about 6 minutes to read, right? That means Srinath's time to read his paragraphs, read the questions and answer is going to be really, really long, right? One of the best ways that you can use to speed up your reading is a system called using a cursor, right? Now, on the computer, this is very easy. So because you already have the computer cursor, right? So what do? You pan this cursor as you're reading, right? So that your eyes are focused and following what you are reading at that moment. This might seem really easy and childish, but it doubles your reading speed instantly. Okay, this is one of the best scanning methods that you can use. Okay, where you keep the cursor, you just pan it like this, right? And then you're able to read in a very fast speed. If you're doing the physical test, the paper-based test, you use your finger. This is again very easy. You just pan it like this so that you're able to clearly understand what you're reading, but also double the speed in which you are reading. Clear, right? Very, very effective. Try it today and it works, right? Any speed reading class, I've taken a number of speed reading classes just for me to understand how I can teach my students to read faster. In every class I've been to, both online and physical classes I have been to, the number one technique that they say is you have to use a cursor. Immediately, instantly, your reading speed doubles. Okay. Why? Because our eyes are not unfocused. Now, if I take this reading passage, right? If we take a reading passage, for example, right? And we suddenly look at it, we don't know where to focus. Our eyes are going everywhere. We're looking at the questions. We're not sure where to focus. But the moment we put a cursor and say, okay, just follow the cursor and focus on reading one section at a time, now we are fully focused. Okay. Reading is all about focusing, reading, and understanding. If you can do those three things, it becomes very easy. All right. The cursor method is definitely one to use, right? And also reading and summarizing will dramatically improve your comprehension skills. Okay. When you are practicing reading papers, okay, when you're practicing reading papers, initially don't worry about the time. Take 2 hours, okay, to answer 40 questions. Read the paragraph well, read the questions well, try to get as many answers correct. Okay, if you have about a month, 2 months for the exam, this is the best way to go about practicing. Okay, take 2 hours, do the 40 questions, try to get 33, 34 plus when you're taking 2 hours to answer the paper, right? As you get closer, start cutting the time down and maintaining the answers you got correct. Now, if you got 34 consistently, don't drop below 34 when you start cutting down the time. Okay? You have to try and maintain that. At the same time, try to improve the amount of marks while cutting down the time. Ideally, 2 to 3 weeks before the test, you should be finishing the paper in 55 minutes and be able to get 35 plus marks for any practice paper that you do. That should be your ideal study plan. Now, I know some of you are doing the exam on June 1st, June 8th, June 22nd. You guys can't follow this tactic, right? Maybe June 22nd, if you're doing, by all means, go ahead, right? That's fine. But if you're doing on June 1st, June 8th, it's too close to practice for 2 hours, right? So now, ideally, you should have done that before, and now you should be practicing in 1 hour to get above 35 marks, okay? Keep in mind now when you're practicing, the way to get marks is like this. Now you have 3 sections. In part 1, the first 13 questions, there can be no mistakes. Every single part 1 section that you do, there cannot be any mistakes. So I would say tomorrow, take about 10 part 1 questions, part 1 paragraphs, and try to get 13 out of 13 or 14 out of 14 for all those papers. That means you're solid, no stress. Then you go to part 2. Okay, you can get 1 to 2 questions wrong here, right? So that means out of 13, you can get 11. Anything below 11 would be bad. Okay, so again, take about 10 to 15 papers, practice only part 2 until you're consistently getting 11 to 12 marks. Okay, now part 3 is the hardest. Part 3 is the hardest. Therefore, you can get about 3 questions wrong. Okay, if you are smart and if part 1 and part 2, everything is correct, you can get up to 5 questions wrong here and still get a super high band score, right? But ideally, part 2, you can get 2 questions wrong. Part 3, you can get 3 questions wrong. That would leave you with 35 marks. That's your threshold to lose marks. If you lose marks in part 1, you're done for. Not that you will fail, but you can increase your chances of getting to a high band score if you're getting 13 out of 13 or 14 out of 14 for the first section. So when you're practicing, you need to be practicing with that aim. Clear? All right. So immediately, these are the steps you can take, right? Start using the cursor method, right? To read faster and understand. Trust me, guys, you try this today, it will double your reading speed. I guarantee that. Okay, because I have tried it, it has worked. My students have tried it, it has worked. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, read and summarize. Now, especially if you're doing the exam on the 22nd, that means you have some time. Okay, so reading and summarizing different texts, not only IELTS texts, different texts you can try. Read, summarize, try to understand what you are reading. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, you need to start practicing as many papers as possible. If you're doing, okay, if you're doing the exam on June 1st, June 8th, or June 22nd, this period, now you should be practicing 1 hour only, right? You can't be taking more than that. So how do you categorize your time? 15 minutes for part 1, 20 minutes for part 2, 25 minutes for part 3, 15 minutes for part 1, 20 minutes for part 2, 25 minutes for part 3. Okay, that's your timing, right? Anywhere before 22nd of June, if you're doing the test, that's your timing, right? If you're doing the test past that, July, August, you guys have time. Start practicing in 2 hours and then little by little start cutting it down. Okay, no stress. But that's how you manage your time, 15, 20, 25. Okay, and so that's the third thing. And the final thing is the marking, how you get the marks, right? Full marks for part 1. That should be your aim. How do you practice? You get 10 to 15 part 1 sections only. Practice those until you're getting consistently 13 marks completely. Then you take about 15 part 2, section 2 questions. Practice that until you're getting as many questions correct, right? 11 or 12, that should be your score. Part 3, again, you should be getting about 9 to 10, right? 10 would be ideal. Okay, for part 3, because each section gets progressively harder. Okay, these are the most actionable steps that you can take today, right? Regardless of when you're doing the test, the most actionable steps that you can take today. Clear? We will talk about skimming, scanning, focused reading later, but for now, these are the most actionable steps that you can take. Okay, so I hope you understood that. All right, so you can read all of this, but I have basically summarized everything and I have told you. So this talks about skimming, scanning, and focused reading. We'll talk about that in a bit. If you're doing the paper-based test, you have this paper to write your answers in. And the reason I have put this in particular is because with the computer-based test, you don't have to worry, right? You just have to type your answer or drag and drop your answer, whatever you have to do there. Here, some people in the panic, in the stress of the exam, for question number 3, you might write the correct answer in box number 4. What happens? Now your entire answer list is wrong. Right? You have to be very mindful of this. Very mindful, because you don't get extra time. Okay? Unlike the listening test, you don't get extra time. From question number 1, start writing your answers here. Okay, not in the paper, directly start writing your answers here. Some people suggest, okay, I've been to a lot of webinars, and some people suggest that you write your answer on the question paper and on the answer sheet. That way you can refer back. I personally find this very time consuming, okay, because we have to be very efficient with our time in reading. Okay, there's no time to waste. So we are writing the same answer twice means you're wasting time. My suggestion is be very mindful. Okay, and write your correct answer in this sheet one shot. Okay, but of course your plan B would be first write it in the question paper and then write it on this so that you can always double check. But trust me guys, maximum you will have 5 minutes to double check. Okay, even for myself, when I do it, I just have 5 minutes to double check, that's it, right? And so that's not enough time to really go back and forth and keep checking. So it's you're wasting time, I believe, if you go that route. So one shot, write the correct answer here. Okay, these are the question types, the main question types that you will get for the test, right? There are a few other question types as well, one or two, right? But very uncommon that you get them at the test, right? These are the most common questions that you will get for your IELTS reading test. Okay, matching headings and information. Okay, matching headings means they will give you a list of headings, right? And they will ask you to write the letter pertaining to the correct paragraph in front of that heading, right? Matching information means they will give you some piece of information and say, write the correct letter of the correct paragraph in front of that piece of information. Okay. Completion type question means they will give you a sentence to complete, right? There's a missing word, you have to complete that sentence. They might give you some kind of table to complete, right? Where they have missing information and you have to fill out. So it's basically a fill in the blanks type question. Short answer questions, right? These are questions where they will ask you something and you have to write a short answer. Okay. True, false, and not given. Yes, no, and not given. This is where a lot of people struggle with. Okay. So we'll look at this kind of question today in the paper discussion part. Okay. When you say true, that means if the answer that you see in the question exactly tallies with the statement you see in the paragraph, that's true. If there is some kind of information in the paragraph that does not tally with this question, that is false. But the important thing to keep in mind is there is some information, right? Regarding the question, there is some information in the paragraph. It's just that it doesn't tally, it doesn't match. Then it's false. If there is no information given regarding the statement, regarding the question, then it is not given. Okay. Remember, these are two different types of questions. So for true, if you write yes, that is wrong. Okay. We can't write yes instead of true. We can't write true instead of yes. These are two different questions. So when you say true, false, not given, make sure you write true, false, not given. If it's yes, no, not given, make sure you write yes, no, and not given. You can't, like your O-level, A-level papers, you can't write TFNG, short form. Okay, you can't write like that. Full form has to be written. If you write short form, now instead of true, if you say T, instead of false, if you say F, instead of not given, if they say NG, that is wrong. Is that clear? You have to write true, false, and not given. Then you have multiple choice or list type questions, MCQ type questions or list type questions, where you have to select multiple answers. Okay, so with a MCQ, with a multiple choice question, you only have to select one answer. With a list type question, you have to select multiple answers, usually about 2 to 3 answers. Okay, and finally, classification. Okay, classification means they have given you about 3 points and about 6 questions. You have to classify these points into the correct question. Okay, that's also a tricky question. One of the first questions we'll try in our paper discussion today. Okay, we'll try that immediately after we start the paper discussion. Classification, right? With all these types of questions, okay, number 2 to number 6, all these types of questions, the answers are in order. What does that mean? The answers are in order, right? That means if you read a question in paragraph 1, right, or if you find an answer in paragraph 1, the answer for the next question is going to be below that, right? Let's say in paragraph 1, in the first 3 sentences, you found an answer. In paragraph, or for the second question, maybe in the first paragraph, line 4 might be the next answer, right? Then for question 3, the answer is going to be below that. For question 4, the answer is going to be below that. You don't have to read the same thing over and over again to find answers. This is one of the biggest errors that people make when it comes to finding answers. Okay, they read the same thing over and over again and they waste so much time. Okay, they waste so much time, right? You don't have to read anything more than once, right, for any of these types of questions. For matching type questions and classification type questions, that rule does not apply. Okay, you will have to read the same thing multiple times in order to find the correct answer. So for matching and classification, answers are not in order. For everything else, the answers are in order. Do you understand? When I show you the paper, I will show you this in detail. Okay, but just keep that in mind. Matching and classification, answers are not in order. For every other type of question, the answers are in order. Clear? Right. Now we are going to go to the paper discussion. Guys, if you all have any questions, feel free to ask. Guys, I told you, recording, a lot of people are asking. We'll see, right? We'll see. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Ramina says, can you explain in both languages? Ramina, now I'll just explain this part, right? Because this is the most important part, right? Classification කියන question type එක සහ matching කියන question type එකේදී උත්තර තියෙන්නේ පිළිවෙලට නෙමෙයි. Right? Reading passage එකේ උත්තර තියෙන්නේ පිළිවෙලට නෙමෙයි. අනිත් ඕනම question type එකක් ඔයාට ආවොත් උත්තර තියෙන්නේ පිළිවෙලට. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාට පළවෙනි paragraph එකේ පළවෙනි lines 3 ඇතුලේ උත්තරයක් හම්බුනොත් දෙවනි ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තරේ කවදාවත් එතන තියෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම ඊට යටින් තමයි බලන්න. පළවෙනි paragraph එකේ හතරවෙනි line එකෙන් පල්ලෙහාට තමයි ඔයාගේ උත්තර දෙවනි ප්‍රශ්නෙට තියෙන්නේ. දැන් හිතන්නකෝ පළවෙනි paragraph එකේ අන්තිම line එකේ තමයි ඔයාට දෙවනි ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තරේ හම්බුනේ. තුන්වෙනි ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තරේ හොයන්න ආයෙ ගිහිල්ලා පළවෙනි paragraph එක කියවන්න එපා. ඒක තනිකර කාලේ නාස්තියක්. ඔයා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම දෙවනි paragraph එකෙන් පටන් ගන්න. කිසිම බයක් නැතුව දෙවනි එකෙන් පටන් ගන්න. උත්තරේ ඊට උඩින් තියෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ question types දෙකට ඒ නීතිය අදාළ නැහැ. උත්තර තියෙන තැන අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. right? ඒක නිසා මේ question types දෙකේදී වෙන විදි තියෙනවා. right? අපි classification type question එකක් තමයි මුලින්ම කරන්නේ. එතකොට අපි ඒක discuss කරමු. නමුත් මෙතනදී උත්තර පිළිවෙලට නෙමෙයි තියෙන්නේ. okay? මේ ටිකට උත්තර පිළිවෙලට තියෙන්නේ. okay? That's the main thing you have to take away from this. okay. Can we use cursive letters? That's a tough one. Look, there's nothing against cursive letters. It's just that you have to make sure that the examiner understands what you're writing. Okay. If your handwriting looks like a doctor, only nurses can read it. You know what I mean? So examiner is not trained to understand your bad handwriting, right? Cursive writing is fine, but just make sure that the examiner understands what you're reading. Okay, that's it. Pereira has asked, do I have to read the questions before going through the para and get back to questions again? We'll discuss that. I'll talk to you about that in the paper discussion. Any other questions? Okay, guys, let me quickly. So these, as you can see, are the results of people who have attended our classes. There are just a few of the results that we could fit onto this page, right? But guys, once you attend our classes, getting to the band score that you want becomes relatively easy. Okay. And the reason for that is you're being given constant feedback. You're being taught the methods, the techniques, you're getting attention. Okay. You can get any questions answered, right? I'm available to you to have any questions answered throughout the duration of the program. Okay. So by having a mentor, by having a teacher, look, it doesn't even have to be me, right? You might join this webinar and think, oh, this guy's teaching is bad. If that's the case, then don't join my classes. No problem, right? But if you feel that, okay, I understand what this guy is saying, if I join his classes, I can go for a higher band score. By all means, go ahead. Okay. Up to date, we've got no negative reviews about our program. I've been doing this for 2 years, and for this entire 2 years, I've never got a negative review about my program, right? It's also because we keep the student base less. When I first started, I didn't take more than 10 students per batch because I was the only one teaching, right? When we made it 20 students per batch, then we got another teacher in because I needed help with giving the feedback, marking the essays, marking the writing and stuff like that. Now, for the first time, we are pushing a batch to 30 because last time we had so much demand that although we said we are only admitting 30, people were desperate. So we had to admit about 23 students, right? But so many students we said no to, right? When they called, once the classes started, we kept saying no. We said, join the June batch, join the June batch. Okay. So this month we decided, okay, we are pushing it to 30. That's the maximum limit that 2 teachers can handle, right? But we're not taking more than 30 students. Like I said, if you want to join for our June batch with all of these free packages, you can get all of that for just 20,000 rupees. Just send this code, right, privately to the number that you see on the group. Okay. Send that code, copy paste that code. If you send us this code, we know that you were on the webinar. Okay. Otherwise, the program price is 30,000 rupees. But if you want to join our June batch, right, the code is this. Send it across, right? Send it across to us, copy paste it, and you will get the program for as long as you want, for an unlimited timeline for just 20,000 rupees. Okay. It's the best offer that we are giving, guys. And trust me, for this quality, you will never get this much value for this price. Okay. You're in good hands. And I think, by being in the webinar, I mean, 237 people on this webinar right now, right? You wouldn't be here if you didn't understand what I'm saying, right? And if you didn't think that I was providing value. So I want to thank all of you for joining. Don't worry, this is not ending, okay? We have the paper discussion, so don't leave, right? But I want to thank all of you for joining because you guys motivate me to keep going, right? And I really appreciate that. Whether you join my classes or not, I just want to give you as much value as possible. Joining my classes is just a bonus, right? And it's a bonus for you because you get coaching from me. It's a bonus for me because I get to work intimately with you, right? But I thank you so much for supporting our channel, following our pages, being on our webinars. It's really motivating for me. And I want to thank you so much for being here. All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. And I hope to keep providing value in the future. So I implore that you be with me in the future as well. All right. So message this number, okay, with our webinar code, and you can get started with our June program. Okay. All right, guys, with that, we are going to move on. Dileepa is asking, do you only conduct IELTS classes, not we have spoken English classes as well, right? So you can inquire about that as well on the group, no worries. But we conduct spoken English class as well. The past papers, guys, you don't have to join my classes for the past papers. I'm just going to share it after this webinar on the group for free because anyway, it's just a free link. Okay. So I'm just going to share it on the group. You don't have to, you don't have to pay me anything, nothing. I will share all the past papers or the mock papers from Cambridge on the group. Okay. You can access all of it. Practice as much as possible. Practice is the only way to go for a high band score. If you don't practice, guys, you will not get a good band score. Okay. Your English can be impeccable. Your English can be great. Your English can be fantastic. but you will not get a high band score unless you practice. Okay, so I'm going to send you the papers link on the group. Okay, I want you to start practicing from today. Now we are going to move on to the paper discussion. All right. Now I told you that we are going to look at a true, false, not given type question. Okay, we're going to look at a true, false, not given type question. Now, this is a type of question that a lot of people struggle with. Okay, because they don't know how to find the answers correctly. Guys, I'm going to go a live discussion with you. So feel free to unmute yourself and don't wait. I'm not going to give you a separate time to ask questions. Just unmute yourself if you want to and ask questions during this part of the discussion. Okay, because I really want you to get a proper understanding. Okay. Now, when it comes to finding answers, the number one successful method is the skimming, scanning, and focused reading method. Okay, skimming, scanning, and focused reading method. When you get the paper for the first time, what do? You have to skim the paragraph first. Okay, what is skimming? Skimming means you read on a surface level. In Sinhala, we can say udin කියවනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් උඩින් පල්ලෙන් කියවලා යම් කිසි තේරුම් ගැනීමක් අපි ලබා ගන්න. We get a surface level understanding at the beginning of as soon as we get the paper. How long do you have for this? 2 minutes. Not 1 second more than 2 minutes. Why? This comes down to our time management. If we take more than 2 minutes to skim the paper, we are losing time that we have to read the question and find the answers. Okay, so very tricky. Only 2 minutes you can take, right, to skim through the paragraph. Okay, when you are skimming, there are two ways that you can skim. If your comprehension is good, that means if you have been practicing for about 2 months, reading and summarizing, you have been following the cursor method, right? You have really improved your speed reading skills. Then you can just simply use the cursor and skim through the entire paragraph, right? So you just follow your finger, right? Or if it's a cursor, you follow the cursor and you get an understanding. Okay, you get an understanding. Okay, 2 minutes is more than enough if you are good at your comprehension. Now, most people would struggle to get to this level. Okay, see, most people would struggle to get to this level. Okay, in that case, what do? You identify the fixed keywords in the paragraph. What are the fixed keywords, or what are fixed keywords? Now, there are 4 types of fixed keywords. Okay, 4 types of fixed keywords. Please check the chat box, right? I will put it onto the chat box. Fixed keywords include proper nouns. Okay, fixed keywords include proper nouns. Proper nouns are basically any name of a person, animal, place, any proper name. Now, for example, we would say polar bears, right? Polar bear is a specific type of bear. There is no alternative to polar bear. Therefore, it is a proper noun, right? Arctic Circle is a name of a place. There is no alternative to Arctic Circle. Therefore, it is a proper noun, right? Then we just go further down. Okay, Shi Ping Liu. Shi Ping Liu is the name of a person. Now, if I say Shi Ping Tao, is Shi Ping Tao and Shi Ping Liu the same person? No. There can only be one Shi Ping Liu, proper noun. Clear? So any name, any specific name is a fixed keyword. Then dates. Dates, right? When I say dates, it could be days of the week, months of the year, It could be, a specific date like 2nd, 3rd, right, of a month. Then it could be 2nd of September, right, or 3rd of September. Or it could be any year, right? Now, do they, okay, 2014. This would count as a date, right? Do they have anything else? 6 months, okay? 6 months, the time period, right? 2008. So like that, you quickly highlight the fixed keywords. So any names, proper nouns, dates, times, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Do they have any of those things here? No, no times, right? No times are here, but there are paragraphs that have times, right? Then numbers, any number, 11 centimeters, minus 40 degrees Celsius, right? What are the other numbers? So again, 6 months, right? 6 months. Any other number that you see, okay? Any number that you see, just highlight it, right? That's a fixed keyword. And finally, scientific terms, okay? Scientific terms. So proper now, so scientific terms would be something like this, right? Here, low density lipoproteins, LDLS, a form of bad cholesterol. So lipoproteins is a word that you might not typically understand. It's a scientific term, right? APOB, right? We have never heard of this gene, right? Which is known as APOB. So those kinds of things immediately highlight, because there's a tendency for those kinds of words to be appeared in the questions. Okay. So that's the second way of skimming. You just highlight the fixed keywords, right? Very quickly, just go through, tuck, 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 tuck. You can highlight the fixed keywords. Even if you're doing the computer-based test, you have the option to highlight. So you can use it to highlight the fixed keywords. Clear? Right. That is skimming. So you get a very surface level understanding of the paragraph. Clear? A very surface level understanding of the paragraph. You can only take 2 minutes. Very important, okay? Very, very, very important. Then you move on to scanning. This is where we find where the answer is going to be. Okay? This is where we are going to find where the answer is going to be. Is that clear? Where is the answer going to be? Which section is the answer going to be? How are we going to do that? We read the question and we understand what are the fixed keywords, what are the flexible keywords. Fixed keywords now we already know and we have highlighted, so they should be easy to find. What are the flexible keywords? Flexible keywords are the words that are important to help us find an answer, but they have synonyms. Synonyms, they have similar words, right? So let's take this first question for example. Polar bears suffer from various health problems due to the buildup of fat under their skin. Polar bears, like I said, will not change. It's a fixed keyword. It will be there. Various health problems. Now, health problems, okay, is that a fixed keyword? No, but it's very important to helping us find the answer, because that is what the answer revolves around, right? So various health problems could be in the paragraph as a synonym, right? So what is a synonym for various health problems? Sicknesses. Sickness means health problem. Do you understand that? Sickness means health problem due to the buildup of fat under their skin. Okay, so buildup of fat under their skin, that is also not a fixed keyword per se, or not a fixed phrase per se. We can't really think of many synonyms that might turn up, but we never know. Okay, so we'll have to read and find out whether there are synonyms or whether these flexible and fixed keywords are available exactly as it is. Okay, all right. What's the first word we can look for? Polar bears. Polar bears is here. Okay, various health problems. Okay, now we have to look for health problems, right? And buildup of fat under their skin, right? Okay, fat underneath their skin, right? Now this phrase is there. Polar bears is here. However, polar bears is also here, right? So we didn't find anything related to health problems in this section. We just found this, right? So from here onwards, up till this point, let's read and see. This is called focused reading. Okay, now we know answer is in this section. Answer is in this section, right? Now we do some focused reading. Don't bother about this one, right? Because we didn't find all three keywords in this section, but we can see the exact phrase here along with the fixed keyword here. So let's read this and see the answer should be there. One reason for this is that they have up to 11 centimeters of fat underneath their skin. Humans with comparative levels of adipose tissue would be considered obese and would be likely to suffer from diabetes and heart disease. Humans who have this level of fat, who have this level of adipose tissue, would be obese and suffer from diabetes and heart disease. So humans will suffer from this. Yet, the polar bear experiences no such consequences. What is the correct answer to this question? Is it true? Is it false? Or is it not given?
False.
False.
False, correct, right?
False.
Why is it false? Because this information is there. It says that polar bears have 11 centimeters of fat under their skin. Humans who have that amount of fat will suffer from sicknesses. But very clearly it says, yet the polar bear experiences no such consequences. Do you understand? So very clearly they will say, this is not true. It's false. Clear? Now, according to our theory, to look for the answer for question 2, do we have to read this paragraph again? Yes or no? What was our theory? The
No.
answers are always in order.
No.
Therefore, we can forget about this first paragraph. Okay, answer is not going to be. Okay, answer is not going to be there. We look at question number 2. The study done by Liu and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. Okay, immediately now if we have done our skimming properly, we should know the word Liu is here. Study by Liu. Okay, compare different groups of polar bears. Again, the word polar bears is here. So let's read up to this part and see. Focused reading. Focused reading means we read the section clearly so that we understand it and can find an answer. A 2014 study by Shi Ping Liu and his colleagues sheds light on this mystery. They compared the genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relative from a warmer climate, the brown bears. Okay, the answer is there. The study done by Liu and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. The question is saying they compared different groups of polar bears. Here it's saying they compared polar bears with their closest relative, the brown bear. Therefore, is it true, false, or not given? True, false, or not given? It is
True.
false. It is false. Read it carefully. The study done by Liu and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. Polar bear වර්ග කිහිපයක් ඒගොල්ලෝ compare කරා. මෙතනදි කියන්නේ, here they are saying they compared polar bears. Polar bears ලව compare කරා brown bears ලට. polar bear වර්ග කිහිපයක් නෙමෙයි compare කරේ. polar bears ලව compare කරා brown bears ලට. පැහැදිලිද? Do you understand? Therefore, the answer is false. Do you understand? Clear, 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 clear? All right, false.
Yes.
Sajani has given a bit of a long answer. Let me read that and see. But sir, in this question, they didn't anything exact amount, anything that over the limit caused the disease. Why can't we go with the answer not given? Because if fat build up more than 11 centimeters, it may cause, no. That is too much of an over analysis. Now, Sajani is saying, because they have not given exact values, that this answer will be incorrect. No. What they're saying is polar bears in general have up to 11 centimeters of fat. Centimeter 11ක් දක්වා මේගොල්ලොන්ගේ මස් fat කියන මොනවද මේදය රැඳෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Fat can build up to 11 centimeters. Right? මිනිස්සුන්ට මේක තියෙද්දි when humans have this, right, they will have diseases. ඒගොල්ලොන්ට එක එක ලෙඩ හැදෙනවා. Right? But they're clearly saying here, පැහැදිලිව කියනවා, polar bears experience no such consequence. Polar bears ලට මේ fat build up එකෙන් කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? කියලා ඒගොල්ලෝ පැහැදිලිව කියනවා මෙතන. මෙතනින් නැවැත්තුවා නම් මේක කියන්නේ නැතුව මෙතනින් නැවැත්තුවා නම් answer is not given. But මේක ඒගොල්ලෝ පැහැදිලිව දාලා තියෙනවා. යම් කිසි දෙයක්, if something is clearly put, යම් කිසි දෙයක් පැහැදිලිව දාලා තියෙනවා නම් අපිට true false දෙකෙන් එකක් තමයි තෝරන්න පුළුවන්. Not given කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසිම දෙයක් නැත්තම්. දැන් මේ number එක අපිට වැදගත් number එකක් නම් එතකොට සමහර විට not given answer එකක් පුළුවන්. නමුත් මෙතන 11 centimeters කියන එකට ලොකු gravity එකක් දීලා නැහැ. Sajani, do you understand? I hope you understood. Not Sajani, it's Sanjay. Sorry, Sanjay. Sanjay, I hope you understood, right? Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, very good. Right? I want you to understand, right? I want you to understand. Then, part 3 or question 3. Now, metaning uda tamai, we found the answers to the first 2 questions. So, we don't have to read this again. From here down, we can read. Okay, from here and down we can read. Liu and colleagues were the first researchers to compare polar bears and brown bears genetically. Okay, Liu is here again, right? But we can just read this section just to be sure, right? This allows them to, okay, we can just scan that part, right? To see if they were the first researchers to compare polar bears and brown bears, because that part is here, right, about polar bears and brown bears. So in this line, they might have the fact that they're the first. So we just scan that line to see if the first part is there, but it's not. We can read downwards again. No, up to here, there's nothing about them being the first, right? And now I notice that the bad cholesterol part is here. So if this is here, then the answer to the third question can't be below that, right? It has to be in this section. So it's not there. Therefore, the answer to this would be not given. Okay, yeah, correct. Most of you have put that. That's correct. Not given, right? Nowhere have they said that Liu and his colleagues were the first people to identify or to compare polar bears and brown bears genetically. Nowhere they have said they are the first. Therefore, it is not given. They haven't even said that these guys were the second or third. If they have said they are the second or the third, or if they have spoken about prior research, then this would be false. But there's nothing like that. Directly, they're just talking about the comparison. So there's nothing about first, second, third. So therefore, this is not given. Okay, correct. Good. Polar bears are able to control their level of bad cholesterol by genetic means. So immediately bad cholesterol is here, right? It's a very prominent one. Okay, fixed keyword. That's a fixed keyword. Then polar bears are able to control their levels of bad cholesterol by genetic means. Okay, all of these are flexible keywords. Genetic means control their levels of bad cholesterol. Okay, so the bad cholesterol part is here. So let's just read. Gene is here. Polar bear is here. Okay, so just read from this section onwards, right? Liu and his colleagues found the polar bears had a gene. No, okay, so gene is here again, right? Known as APOB, which reduces levels of low density lipoproteins, a form of bad cholesterol. Okay, so controls means controls their levels. So it could mean going high or going low. So in this case, they're saying it's reducing, right? What is helping it to reduce this level of bad cholesterol? It's this gene known as APOB, right? So Liu and his colleagues found the polar bears had a genetic means called APOB, which reduces their levels of low density lipoproteins, a form of bad cholesterol, right? Therefore, this answer would be what? True. Yes, true, right? Good. People have said true. True, true. Okay, very good. Right. So the answer to that question number 4 is true. Okay. Then we go to question number 5. Female polar bears are able to survive for 6 months without food, right? Female, now again, we can go further down from here. So anyway, just this part is left. You can just scan that for female polar bears, right? But it's not there, right? So we can just go further down. Are able to survive about 6 months. I remember seeing 6 months somewhere here. Here, female polar bears, 6 months. Okay, let's just read that part. This process results in about 6 months of fasting, where female bears have to keep themselves and their cubs alive, depleting their own calcium reserves. Despite this, their bones remain strong and dense. Right. Yeah, so it says this process results in about 6 months of fasting, where the female bears have to keep themselves and their cubs alive, depleting their own calcium and calorie reserves. Despite this, although their calcium and calorie drops, their bones remain strong and dense, right? Yeah. So we can take this as what? Is this true, false, or not given? Are they able to survive for 6 months without food? Yeah, people are saying it's true. That's correct. It's true, right? Because they're very clearly saying they go through 6 months of fasting. So if all female polar bears go through 6 months of fasting, that means they're able to survive it. That means they're not dying, right? They're not dying. They're able to survive the 6 months of fasting, right? So therefore, we can take this answer as true. Okay. Then question number 6. It was found that the bones of female polar bears were very weak when they came out of their dens in spring. Okay, so here it says bones remain strong and dense. We can take that also as an answer to this, right? But since this was connected to the last question, we'll just check and see if there's anything else later on. And then here we go, right? It says here pregnant bears. So basically, female bears were able to increase their bones, density of their bones before they started building their dens. In addition, 6 months later, when they finally emerged from the den with their cubs, there was no evidence of significant loss of bone density. There was no evidence of significant loss of bone density. So is this true, false, or not given? Were the polar bears weak when they came out of their den in spring? It's false. Very good, right? It's false. So you see, you can easily find the answers. You are finding it very fast and you're putting it up. Good, right? Finally, the polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by people one day, right? So now we have already found up to here. The polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by humans one day, right? Increasing the bone density. Okay, could be used by humans. Let's just try and find that. Bone remodeling, right? In polar bears. Okay, increasing bone density. Many bedridden humans, even astronauts, could potentially benefit. Okay, so if people figure out how to remodel their bone density, humans could benefit. So bedridden humans, astronauts could potentially benefit. So is this true? Yes, it is. Right, good. So Janice, Harsh, you guys are correct. The answer to this question is true. All right. Okay. So I hope you understood the skimming, scanning, and focused reading technique. It's very simple and it allows you to very clearly identify where the answer is going to be, then read it in a more detailed way and find the correct answer. Okay, you're able to read it in a more detailed way and find the correct answer. Okay. The only other thing, okay, I don't think we have time to really go through this entire question, right? But I'll just give you a few tips here. Okay. When you're answering this type of question, what is this type of question? Matching headings. Okay. When you're answering a matching headings type question, we can't follow that, the step-by-step method where the answers were in order. You just have to read this paragraph and select the correct heading, right? You just have to read this paragraph A, you have to read it and find the correct heading. The technique to follow here is to read the first and last lines and identify the keywords. If the keywords tally, that would be the correct heading. So first of all, what do? You need to go through all the headings and you need to underline the keywords, right? You need to go through all the headings and underline the keywords. So everything, all the keywords here, just underline it. Then you read paragraph A. In the first and last line, try to find if there are any of those keywords there, right? Try to see if any of those keywords are. So if the keywords tally, that means you have the correct answer. Is that clear? Right? When you go to matching information type questions, right? Okay. No, there are no matching information type questions here. But if you do get a matching information type question, with that guy, that is most probably the hardest question that you are going to get, right? That is the hardest question you're going to get because the answers are not in order. Even this matching headings is actually very easy, right? Once you have underlined
Excuse me,
yeah, tell me.
for the keywords that you said, firstly we have to see the keywords.
Mhm.
Then if there are synonyms for the keywords in the paragraph, can it as the answer the paragraph for the heading?
Of course. So like I said, you have fixed and flexible keywords. Okay. Let's just quickly,
Okay.
okay, we're running out of time, but nonetheless, let me quickly just show it to you, right? Now, when you take this list of headings, okay, the areas and artifacts within the pyramid itself, right? Areas and artifacts within the pyramid, all of these are flexible keywords. Okay, all of these could change. A difficult task for those involved, keyword. A king who saved his people. A king who saved his people. A single certainty among other less definite facts. One single certainty among other less definite facts. Okay. An overview of the external benefits and areas. Now here within the pyramid, here external buildings and areas. Okay. A pyramid design that others copied. The pyramid design that others copied. An idea for changing the design and areas. The idea for changing the design of burial structures. An incredible experience despite the few remains. Incredible experience despite the few remains. The answers to some unexpected questions. These are your keywords. Are there any fixed keywords here? Unfortunately, no. Right? There are no fixed keywords. You're dealing with only flexible keywords. So there are definitely going to be so many synonyms involved, right? You just need to be mindful of that. Now I'll just do one question, okay? I'll show you the answer for paragraph A, how we find that. Okay. We are looking for these keywords. Any of these keywords are fine. We just need to locate at least one of them, right? Okay, so we read the first sentence. The pyramids are the most famous monuments of ancient Egypt and still hold enormous interest for people in the present day. Are there any keywords here? No, nothing, right? Then we go to the last sentence. However, there is no question that as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king, designed by one brilliant architect, the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara. There is no question that as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king, designed by one brilliant architect. A single certainty, right? There is no question, right? If we just read the line above that, it says, the evolution of the pyramid form has been written and argued about for centuries. There are many less definite facts, but there is no question about this one. Clear? There is no question about this one. Do you understand? Right? Therefore, the answer for question number one, or not one, 14 is 4. Clear? So it's the same way. Just read the first and the last. If you can't find it there, just scan through this to see if you can locate the keywords. Very easy, guys. Once you locate the keywords, matching headings is not very difficult. The only tough question you will face is matching information, right? That is because you have to really go through and locate keywords throughout the paragraph, right? But outside of that, all other questions are super easy once you identify the skimming, scanning, and focused reading method. All right. Okay, guys, with that, we are done with the webinar today. Message this number with our webinar code if you want to join our June batch. Once again, I will put the code, right? Like I told you guys, I mean, instead of you wasting money by doing the exam again and again and again, you might as well understand how to do it properly one time and then pass it. Okay. There is no point in, making UK rich, all right, making the British Council rich by doing this exam again and again. So one shot, if you're doing the exam in July, August, September, October, November, December, it does not matter. You can join our June batch, pay us one time, and you can join all our classes till such time. Okay. So the way to join our classes and get the discount, get this 30% discount, right? And also get all of this for free, right? All of our benefits for free would be to just message this number with the webinar code. Okay. So you're getting our video course, our live class recordings, writing and speaking, unlimited feedbacks, along with the practice tests. Okay. And you can also join unlimited batches. Okay. Only 30 students, guys. Confirm your spot today. You don't have to pay today, right? But just confirm your spot by sending the webinar code to that number, right? And you can just confirm your spot and you can pay before the 6th of June. Okay, you can pay before the 6th of June. No need to pay today, but just confirm your spot. Okay. Don't send the code here. Send the code on the group. There is a number, right? Or send it to this number, right? Send the code to this number, guys. Don't send it here, right? We can't keep track, right? Send it on the group on the number to this number. So let me answer a few more questions. Okay, let me answer a few more questions, right? People have asked, are there classes for speaking part only? Again, you can book individual sessions with me in that case, but it's a lot cheaper. My individual class are expensive, guys, because again, I'm really, really pressed for time. I'm only taking 30 students. it's a lot cheaper for you to go for my group classes, okay? Because individual, it's quite expensive. But you can message that same number and get those details, okay? But yes, to answer your question, yes, we do speaking only classes as well. Abu has asked, what is the best center to book the exam, IDP or British Council? Guys, personally, I have no major preference. Both are actually quite good, convenient. There is no difference in the exam just because you book the test from IDP or British Council. So there's really honestly no major difference, right? Some students, they like British Council. Some students, they like IDP. Personally, I have done at the British Council. My brother did at the British Council. It's easy. They're convenient. They get back to you fast. You can do the whole process online. It's quite convenient. So I would recommend British Council, but honestly, I have nothing against IDP. You know, you can book at IDP as well. What keywords should we highlight when skimming? Guys, Nasif, I told you that very clearly, my friend, right? You have to highlight the fixed keywords. The fixed keywords have to be highlighted when skimming. That's the proper nouns, dates, times, right? Scientific terms and numbers. Okay, those are the things that you have to highlight. Please send the mock practice link. Yes, I will send the mock practice link, right? Sir, is it possible to get the full video recordings pertain to the previous batches? Yes, that's possible. So like I said, we give you the live class recordings as a separate package, right? So like I said, you can purchase that separately if you want to, but that would be, again, you're getting the recordings for 10,000, right? It's still worth it. But of course, you know, you're better off joining the program because for just 10,000 extra, you're getting writing feedback, speaking feedback, the video course, everything. Okay. It's cheaper to purchase the program, but if you want, you can actually buy the video for 7,000 rupees. That's not a problem too, right? Okay. I hope that answers your question. Then Chandra Kala, I think I'm saying your name right. 10 days means 10 weeks. No, 10 days means actually 5 weeks. We conduct classes every Tuesday and Thursday from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Every Tuesday and Thursday from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. That's when we have the classes. Okay. Guys, today's class recording, I can't guarantee you because I told you I wanted people to attend the webinar and I don't want anyone to get this webinar code because last time what happened was we published the YouTube live and everybody started sending us the webinar code like 2-3 days later. And then we had about 50 people inquiring about classes, but we just couldn't take them in, right? So we said join in June. So that's why I'm not posting the recording. Okay. And frankly, for the people that inquired about the webinar and then didn't join today, I don't know why. Okay. So that's why we are not giving the recording. There's no point, right? So we don't plan to give the recording. I recorded. So we maybe we'll post it like 2 weeks from now, but we're not going to post it anytime soon, right? Definitely not today, right? So recording, like I said, if you stayed with me to the end, you would have got the value. Otherwise, no. One more thing, guys, I think there are some people from other classes who are messaging you on the group privately. We got a few people sent across those messages. Honestly, guys, if you want to go and join those classes, by all means, go ahead, right? Because if these people want to poach you and get you and do whatever, we are not bothered by that, right? Because at the end of the day, I provide the best quality service. I give you the best teaching that I can give you. And I'm doing this genuinely from the heart, okay? I don't plan to do mass classes where I have 150 students in a class because I can't give you that individual attention. If I have 100 people in a class, I will have at least 6 to 7 teachers because I need to give you proper feedback for your writing, proper feedback for your speaking. So I think with 2 teachers, that's what we have at the moment. We can only manage 30 people. Okay, so that's why if you feel like, my teaching was good and that you understand what I'm teaching, join my classes. If you feel that you don't understand, don't join. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you understand what I teach and you can get to the best possible band score, right? And if I can't do that, then please, this class is not for you, right? Because I want to give you the best service, right? If I can't give you that, then I don't want your money, right? So if you trust me, if you want to go this journey with me and you want to make your dream of going to a foreign country, going to US, Canada, whatever country that you want to go to a reality, get the best possible band score, 100% I'm with you. Anytime you want to call me, ask me any questions, anything, I'm there for you. Don't worry, right? I will personally be there to ensure your success. Okay. And I hope you got as much value from this webinar. I would really appreciate if you could drop a message on that webinar group with your feedback. Okay. On the group, right? Please drop a message with your feedback, because I want to know whether what we did is useful to you or not. If we can improve, how can we improve? Please let us know on the group. Okay, I'd really appreciate that. Please let us know on the group. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time, and good night and good luck for the test. Good luck. Wish you all the best, guys. Have a good one. Good night.